Well, that wasn't really the outcome I expected at all. I did not in any way expect that. I didn't expect that Cobbs would get completely blitzed the way he did. I didn't expect that Cobbs to get completely dominated the way he did. I did expect possibly that Rocha could surprise everybody and say, you know, I'm going to be just outbox this dude. Man, that's not what happened. Rocha just destroyed Blair to Flair Cobbs. Just destroyed him. Early on, Blair Cobbs had his success. Corner was kind of getting on Rocha's case because Rocha seemed like he abandoned whatever their game plan was talked about. He seemed to abandon it, and then they got him back on track. It was kind of like Crawford against Porter, where Bomac had to kind of calm him down so he could stop fighting Porter's fight because, of course, Crawford was losing all the way up through the 10th. But same stuff here where Rocha seemed to abandon the game plan, and it seemed like Cobbs, their whole plan was to try to force Rocha into a fight that wasn't his. The weird thing, though, is that he did do that, but then Cobbs lost in that exchange. Like he lost at his own game. The fight we saw is not Rocha's game. We've never seen Rocha do that kind of a performance in any of his fights. He's never been that, I don't want to say brilliant, but brilliant. He's never been that dangerous looking, that dominant. And it's hard to tell whether that was just about Cobbs or if it was something about Rocha that just, he said, you know what, screw it, I'm just go for the Wolves. But Rocha, kudos to him for what he did. I will say this, though. One thing I didn't notice when I did my assessment pre-fight, I didn't notice that Cobbs was training with Freddie Roach. Have you noticed, like every single time fighters train with Roach, they seem to take a loss? If your name's not Manny Pacquiao, and even Manny Pacquiao has taken losses, but that was later career. But like some of these other younger ones, they get with Roach and then they end up taking losses. I mean, I can't recall the full list, but I know Khan, I'm pretty sure he was sparked out under Roach's control. Rungvisai, he was training under Roach. I'm pretty sure it was for the Estrada rematch. I'm pretty sure he was training under Roach for that one. I can't remember if it was that one specifically. I'm pretty sure it was because I remember that was when I called out he looked too civilized and him training with Roach got me nervous. And now this dude, the Cobbs, it's like, I don't know. It seemed like training with Roach is just the death knell for you. I looked at Cobbs fighting and I didn't see he did anything specifically wrong other than defense was kind of lacking. But it seemed like he was trying to use his offense as his defense, like I talked about, where he gets caught, but he's still going to be able to come back and hit you. He was hitting Rocha, at least, prior to like the 6th. But it just seemed like Rocha was prepared. He was ready for going under fire and taking those shots, again, in a way we had never seen before. We'd never seen Rocha go to war like that. If he had done that against Rashidi Ellis, he might have actually won the damn fight. So I don't know where that Rocha came from, but kudos to him for a very brilliant, I can't say otherwise, a very brilliant performance against Blair to Flair Cobbs. And again, I saw some significant flaws in what Flair was doing, and I'm not sure if that's Roach that just, because, Manny, he has defense issues. Khan has defense issues. Srisaket doesn't have significant defense issues, but Khan certainly does. Manny certainly does. So it almost seems like it might be a Roach thing, or just piss poor defense, maybe? I don't know. But that's what I did see. Seemed like piss poor defense upstairs. Maybe Flair was waiting on body work, like he expected Rocha to go low because Rocha's kind of shorter. Maybe he expected that and didn't think that Rocha would be able to hit him upstairs, kind of like Keith against Manny. He figured this guy's not going to be able to touch me upstairs. And then sequence on the ropes, and Blair's trying to duck and dodge and move, and he just gets caught with an absolute scary looking shot right to the head, and that was kind of the end of it. I was stunned, honestly. Again, getting it wrong, that's cool that I got it wrong. It's how. It's the what happened that's more shocking. It's not the fact that Rocha won. I acknowledge a chance Rocha could have outboxed him, not that Rocha could have done that kind of a performance. Though I did say, both guys would be kind of gunning. I did say it's going to be a fight worth your time. I was straight on that one, and I think everybody agrees. That was a fight worth it. It was worth, especially after the stinker that McKinson did. And you saw McKinson's a brilliant boxer, but then he's in there against a guy who's he's not going to engage. And so McKinson, that's kind of the flaw in McKinson's. You got to match him against aggressive fighters for him to look good. So that's going to hurt McKinson's. But with, Cobbs and Rocha, both guys knew this is their coming out moment. And I think Rocha probably got some eyes open to say, okay, I'm here. I'm here in 147 and I want to smoke. Even though he has the one loss, he's able to pull out a performance like that. The question is, can he continue that one? Because it was almost like watching Chino Maidana in there at points. Just a more refined, more precise version of Chino Maidana in there against Cobbs. So that, to me, makes compelling fights that you could theoretically make. Like, I would love to see the version of Rocha we just saw against Virgil Ortiz when Virgil Ortiz gets back better. If Virgil Ortiz had fought McKinson, that would have been a boring-ass fight, straight up. Ortiz would have destroyed him. But this Rocha and Ortiz, that's an exciting fight to just think about that kind of style matchup. I'm talking that version of Rocha. Now, if he goes back to the style he was doing before, obviously nobody's going to want to see that. The style he fought against Ellis, nobody's going to want to see that. So kudos to Alexis Rocha for doing what I figured was not going to happen, which was a knockout, a stoppage, a dominant, an absolute destruction of Blair Cobbs. I expected it's possible he could get a win, but I certainly didn't expect what we saw. And for Flair Cobbs, I think as I said, I think if he does lose, he'll bounce back. I think he'll come back and he'll be stronger and better. He certainly needs to change fucking trainers because I don't know if that truly was their strategy or he abandoned it. Because, Roach don't say anything in the corner, so you can't tell. Is he telling these fighters to do that, or are the fighters ignoring what's being told? It seemed to me like that was the game plan. It seemed like it seemed like the game plan, like early on you could tell Blair was going to the body, and it seemed like maybe that was what it was, is just go to the body, slow him down, but then he didn't anticipate Rocha was going to be able to get him upstairs. So he didn't bother doing excessive defense, and then he figured he would use his athleticism and just basically counter, move, and then counter, kind of like Danny Swift. But, Danny Swift is a very specific type of style. Like not everybody can do that. Not everybody can pull that off. And it almost reminded me of Blair, almost reminded me like a Mayorga. It was very similar to Mayorga, watching him in there. And the same flaws, the same gaps in the game. So I don't know where he goes from here, Blair, but I think he's going to want to bounce back. I think he's going to get back in the ring as fast as possible, but he took some damage here. So he's probably going to be out. I would guess he's going to be out minimum through July or August. Like, there's no way he can come back quicker than that off what we just saw. He was seeing some shots upstairs, and he should get checked and make sure he's okay, because I was kind of like, wow. So regardless, Alexis Rocha gets it done in stunning fashion against Flair Cobbs in a fight that this is one of those that like I said, is worth the price of admission. Absolutely. It's just unfortunate, like with DAZN, the problem is that was like the only fight really worth the time was this one. The rest of them were like, this one was worth the price, but you're like, okay, but it's just one fight. I want to wait and see if they decide to put this up on the air after the fact for free like they've done so many other fights, because if you didn't get to see it, you really should see it, because it's a really exciting fight. In boxing, it's like, wow, you don't see this very often. Funny story about this one then, Errol Spence during the fight, he's tweeting like he tends to do with certain fighters. He'll tweet. And of course, Blair's called out Spence, and he's called out Crawford, called out Canelo. He's called out all these guys, Boots Ennis, And Spence is tweeting during, he said, man, Roach beating up on Red from 5 Heartbeats. And if anybody's not watched 5 Heartbeats, there's a guy named Big Red. And that's what he's going off of, Cobbs's hair is red. He's a natural redhead. That's why he said that. That was kind of funny. But that's Spence. He always says those comedy things. Like he said about Crawford Porter when Kenny Porter stopped it. He said, man, in my day, it was my manager, I'd fired him. I wouldn't pay him. So funny stuff on social media. Spence is the king of it during these fights. And of course, he's got to be careful too, because like I keep saying, Ugas is no cakewalk. I don't see Ugas stopping Spence, but Ugas is no cakewalk. Spence cannot overlook that guy. I'll close with this point. Blair did do a lot of talking in this fight about other fighters, about the other guys he wanted to fight. And I've said it before that sometimes you get distracted and you don't focus on the guy in front of you. And that might have been it. He might have just simply taken Rocha too lightly. But I didn't sense that. It seemed like he was there. It just, for whatever reason, Rocha was walking through the shots, and that's amazing that he was able to do that because Blair can punch, Blair can hit. So Rocha's got he's got some grit about him, which is why I want to see him against the likes of a Virgil Ortiz, so we can really test it and see against guys, that's really got that power that we know confirmed had that power. And if he's able to go there against Ortiz and have that kind of performance, then we got a new contender at 147, right at a time that we got the old guard kind of moving out. So Rocha versus Cobbs, check it out if and when you get a chance. I strongly recommend you do. It is worth the time to watch that fight.